Let's go over the event settings that you have in KeepaScore and how they may impact your tournament. First off, what I'd like to indicate is I am going to be using red in order to indicate everything that's in the Community Edition, and turquoise is going to indicate anything that is specific to the Tournament Edition. So we're going to go up to our menu, and we're going to select our event again. Anything that you see right here, these are going to be available within your Community Edition, whereas on your Tournament Edition, you are going to have the venue and the tournaments providing you with additional features. So selecting an event, we are going to go to the event, which is currently loaded into KeepaScore. We'll go over all of our options. So first off, whether an event is completed or not is controlled right there. If you'd like to take a look, you can look at the video about the event switcher. You are able to control that particular setting basically by clicking on the percentage, and that is going to be a tournament-specific feature of being able to actually control that percentage on the event switcher itself. Now here we have all of our standard information. That is the name of the event, the date, the time, and our profile. Most important to note is with the date, if you have any number of events, which there is going to be a limit in terms of the total number of events on the Community Edition versus the Professional Edition. But for all events that are on the same date, they will all be listed within the event switcher. It is the start time itself which controls their presentation order. So this is an approximate time, not a specific time. So if you're approximately going to start all of your initial events, or let's say you've got a 3-0 bracket at 6, and then you're going to do a 4-0 bracket at 8, and so forth. And for anything, if you're running multiple rounds, or pools, and you're going to be advancing those pools into finals, etc., you can use this value right here in order to say, we're going to start the initial round at 6, but then at 6:30. Even though it's not actually 6:30, because you have specified it as a later time, it will sort after your initial pool within the event switcher that we have up there. Now, KeepaScore does allow you to use and manage an unlimited number of profiles. So whether you're running a league separate from a club, separate from a given tournament, separate from a particular, if you're a tournament director managing tournaments for other clubs, you are able to use the multiple profiles that are available within KeepaScore. Go ahead and look up that video in order to find out more information. Now, our default setting is a doubles or team event since it is the most popular. But of course, if we turn that off, you're going to see that the team size itself switches to a 1. Wherein if you're going to be running multiple teams, then of course you can click and increase that to as many players as you want. So for standard MLP style, which is currently 4, they may adjust and you may end up having 6 players. Or if you want to go to having 8 players and you're playing a different type of format, KeepaScore will actually accommodate that. So I'll move this back down to 2 for this particular event. Now, the next feature that we find in KeepaScore is something that is unique to KeepaScore in terms of how it works. KeepaScore was originally created using a concept known as playgroups. Playgroups are just simply divisions of groups of games where you want to know the statistics of those groups of games independent of other groups. KeepaScore does that with an icon. So one of the most dynamic formats and one of the most asked for formats is a all players play with all other players round robin. That is the default setting of KeepaScore, but you have to become familiar with the way that playgroups work. Go ahead and look up the playgroup icon video or the playgroup video on the KeepaScore website, and you should be able to see how these icons can actually be used in conjunction with their stats. Now, there is one thing to note, and that is team setting. This one particular setting does change one value. As I select that and switch it to team. With team here, you do not have to use all of the icons that are presented. So for example, if I am using the icons in a dynamic format, then I'm able to remove any of the icons that may not apply to me. So let's say I wanted for a team format, I was going to use this for women's, this for men's, and this for mixed. I only need to use those 3. If I want the icons back, if I delete all of them and select outside of that particular area, all of the icons will come back. Now, the impact that this one setting does make, the team setting, is what is shown at the top of the matches when a particular game is selected. So when you select a game from the game area, up at the top, where typically you're going to have all of the scores for however many games are played in that match, plus the match number, making this selection of the team will actually switch this to putting the team name, the number of games, and then the opposing team right there. So that one setting will make that particular adjustment. For any of KeepaScore's fixed formats, you can use the none option, but of course, if you're playing a team event, my suggestion is to just simply use these 2 right here. You're either going to use none if it's a standard team size of 2, otherwise you can use team if you're using a team size greater than 2, and that's pretty much how that works. Now, you are able to set the game count in 2 different places in KeepaScore. You can set it here on the event settings, or when you are in the format tab of the central capture area, you're able to set it there as well. This cannot be changed once it has been set and you have started to collect games. If you are playing an MLP style or a team event, that is simply a best of 5, where you're going to have a men's doubles, women's doubles, 2 mixed doubles, and then the 5th game is going to be set as a tiebreaker. You'll be able to get more information about that in the video where we cover that. We also have the play 2 points and the win by points. That is going to show up as the circle on the scorecard if you do not want the circle or any indication on the scorecard, so that you can circle it with a pencil, what have you, at the time that you're sending the scorecard out. You can leave those 2 values blank. You will also find that you can assign a value of other if you're using a point value different than some of the standard pickleball point formats. Also, what really only applies to our dynamic formats or our play groups is the allow non-event games. We have the ability when you're playing a dynamic format that if players want to capture scores that will be input somewhere, let's say for example duper, but you don't want them to apply to stats, then you would be able to turn that on, and any games captured with that little no access or do not enter sign, those are not applied to the statistics that KeepaScore uses. Now, if you have a larger iPad, that's a 12-inch iPad, or a larger iPhone, team logos can be seen. They will be, I believe it's presented here, and then also in this lower area within the central area. And of course, if you are playing a duper event, then you will be able to turn that on right there. When you do turn that on, what will happen is up in the top area, you will have access to a duper calculator, and the duper ranks will be used on the scorecards and also within the UI. There are 2 places where you can control the participants. They can be controlled right here directly on the event, where we have both of the same features that we have here on the event, where we have a filter where you can filter based on the letter. You can also set the participants right there within the central area when you're selected on that tab. If you're on the iPhone, you'll be able to just simply swipe to the second area of the 4, and you're able to immediately add and remove your players, which often happens in an event when you've got substitutions or players that either no-show, etc. Down at the very bottom, well, I need to scroll on the event itself, is where we have our tournament-specific features, and that includes the venue and the scorecard text. So these are all of your tournament edition only, where you are able to specify an event or a venue. That is where you're going to get your court management features, which are going to be part of your visual bracket, what have you, the ability to require court assignments, which does track from the time that a court is assigned until the game is captured, the last game of a match is captured. You're able to use the court status feature of KeepaScore and also the players waiting and know all of the information that you need to know. Down at the bottom, we have the ability that once you have set up an event, you have the ability to duplicate an event. And when you make that selection right there, it will, if 3 options are available, present you with options of duplicating the event only, the event with the participants, or the event with the participants and the teams. And of course, our final option there is delete, which you want to be very careful of because it will delete all associations based on this event. That includes your players, your teams, etc., anything that is associated to this particular event.